If you want to continue to follow our adventure, click subscribe. So you don't miss anything, click the bell notification. I regularly ask you to do research on this lifestyle if you're going to come out here. I am researching campgrounds, city laws, state laws, all the time. 4 to 12 hours a week sometimes. The reason I do this is so I can stay out of trouble. Now, when I make a video about these kind of things, and I talk about, someone got upset because the police came knocking on their door, and the common response is, well, I have a right to live in my car. Well, that's not entirely true. Actually, what it is you can live in your car on your property or on property that you have permission to stay on. But as far as living in your car or parked on a street, every town can make their own laws. Roanoke, Virginia has banned anyone from sleeping in their vehicles. I hear this all the time. Well, they're taking my freedoms away, my freedom to travel. What I think a lot of people miss is your freedom to travel is interfering with other people's freedoms to live in their house without RVs parked in front of it. Since there is no rights for you living on a street in your car, then obviously the town has a right to say, no, you can't do it. They are the taxpayers of that particular town. Now, here's the thing, is every time I watch a video or someone says this, police are harassing me, they knocked on my door again, lawmakers are taking away my rights. Now, I still firmly believe that we live in a country where people, citizens, are the ones making the laws. And they do it indirectly, but they still do it. We don't hire people to unlawmake. We hire people to be lawmakers. That's what they're called, lawmakers. So we vote for them, and what do? They do exactly what we ask them to do. They go to the political office and make laws. They don't unmake laws. I got a couple stories for you. I lived in a small town. Actually, it was called a village in Missouri for 10 years. My ex-wife and I did. We raised our child. It's a town where your neighbors probably know your kids better than you do. It's just that close-knit of a community. The first major law that was enacted after we moved there, it was like a year after we moved there, they passed a law that said anybody who does any solicitation, sales, in the city limits, in the village limits actually, had to go to City Hall, which was actually a lady's house, and get a permit. And I'll tell you how this got started. There was this kid, college student, who was selling books, innocently enough. But his question scared everybody in town. He would go to the house, knock on the door, somebody would answer, and says, yes, do you have any children? Well, if you said yes, then he would immediately go into his sales pitch about how great he's got these children's books. Well, a young college kid going around asking about children, it scared a lot of people in the town. So they passed a law. This village, it didn't have paved roads. It was all gravel roads. Yes, in Missouri, you still have little towns that have gravel roads. It's quite quaint, actually. The second time, there was a guy parked in kind of one of these alleyways in this town. And my ex-wife called the police, and I found out several other neighbors called the police because this guy had been sitting there for hours in a pickup truck that had a camper on the back. And it looked like he was taking up residence or sleeping there. Well, the police came out, talked to him, and the police officer even came over to our house and said, there's just nothing we can do. He's just sitting there. There's no laws that say that he's doing anything wrong. This is scary. This was absolutely scary to this small town. A few hours later, the police were called again to a house. The man that was sitting in the truck went over to this woman's house and just beat the tar out of her. Just beat her up bad. And of course it made the town very angry that we called the police. The police didn't do anything. And then sure enough, you know, the neighbors' suspicions were correct. Well, what do you think the town did? They immediately demanded that the laws get changed where nobody could park on the side of the roads, these gravel streets, or in alleyways for more than, say, you know, a half hour or whatever. This is how nomads are getting in trouble, is they have this expectation that they're allowed to just live on the street, but then the neighbors start to get a little worried. Well, what's going on? Well, then they call the police come out, harass the RVer, of course, and then something finally happens, so they change the law. So then I hear this argument that, well, that's the reason you need to stealth camp. Don't be in a camper that has, you know, a big old camper on the back of it. Don't be in a Class C. Don't try to sleep on the streets with your, you know, my homemade camper. Well, trust me, guys, you know, if you get a van and you put solar panels on top of it, or it's got a bunch of junk hanging off the back bumper, you know, the windows are tinted, it's got a company logo sign on the side of it, everybody knows that you are living in your van. So it's not really stealth camping. Stealth means secret. You know, I was on a submarine. It was a stealthy submarine. When we went to sea, nobody knew where we were at. Satellites couldn't find us. You know, we were very quiet, so sonar couldn't pick us up. That's stealthy. Well, living in a van, you're not stealthy if everybody knows you're living in your van. So, no. If you park in front of somebody's house in a creepy looking van, the neighbors are going to say, what is this crazy guy doing? Why is he parked in front of my house? Is he watching me? So, you know, people have their own concerns. So when you say I have a right to sleep in my vehicle on this road, what about the homeowner who's scared to death about this van? So they go and pass laws saying you cannot park on this road. More and more towns are coming out with neighborhood watches. So they're looking for this kind of activity. Well, actually, you do have a right to travel. And the right is that you pay to go to campgrounds. Here's the thing. Freedom doesn't mean it's free. Freedom just means you have the right to do it. You might have to pay to do it. Thanks for watching. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.